Hello, it's Kevin Kenny. This is the Build Series live in New York City, and our guest today is celebrating 50 years since his first project came out in 1969, and he's back in 2019 with a new album called It Rains Love. Please let's make some noise for Lee Fields.
Thank you.
How are you, Lee?
Very good, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming by. Now, I was very excited. I'm from the Garden State, and you were telling me in the back, you actually reside in New Jersey nowadays.
Yeah, I've been living in New Jersey, actually. I came to New York in 60, the last portion of 67. I moved to Jersey in around about 69, and I've been there ever since.
Because that's, if my geography serves me correct, and I was never that good at it in school, but that's around the area you started working with Kool and the Gang, right? Weren't they
Yeah.
in Jersey City at the time?
Yeah, they just got up from Ohio, and they were living in Jersey City with their grandmother, I believe, because their dad was a boxer.
Right.
Kool and Ronnie. I think Ronnie called himself. I haven't seen those guys in a long time. I talked to Kool, but it just wasn't in the plans where we got together since then. But I know their father was a boxer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you two, you and the Kool and the Gang, you had very different approaches to music, I've heard, where after a show, they would want to sort of analyze things and see how they could improve. But you were more about the people. You wanted to go hang with the people after a show.
Yeah. Well, you see, at the time, Kool, those guys, man, was so they were like way ahead of their time. They had a burning desire, man, to just get it done. And once a set was over, they would go back. They call it skull busting, which I didn't mind, but they were just more advanced than I was at the time.
Right. Do you think that's the better approach, or because I feel like it's a little bit of both? You can't be too far from the people.
It just depends on what you want to do with your life. If you want to really, if stardom is what you live for,
Right.
that's how you got to do it.
More calculated approach.
You have to be there and on it all the time because there's so much competition out there.
Yeah.
But what my desire was, to be frank with you, man, the only thing I really want to do in my life, man, just have a good time. And I'm still the same way.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, but they was like really wanted. I mean, I wanted to make it,
Right.
and I wanted to just have a good time too.
Yeah.
Well,
you talk about competition. I think that's interesting because you've been on this personal journey as an artist where I think in the early part of your career, probably even well into your career, you felt you had to make music at times that sounded like your peers, right? Or sounded like the sounds of the day. But eventually you got to a point where you just made music you wanted to make. When did that happen?
Well, being my voice is kind of similar to James Brown, and my resemblance is similar to James Brown. So it was an albatross for me, because everywhere I went, man, they thought at one time they thought I was his son, and so it was an albatross, but it was a good thing as well to be in the sentence with a man as great as artist as great as James Brown was. It was indeed an honor. But as far as my career was concerned, it was until I met him in 1973 when I saw he got out of the car and his daughter, I saw his daughter, I never told her this, but she was a little kid at the time. He got out of the car coming to the radio station in Augusta. And then when I looked, James Brown, Lee Fields, James Brown is James right there. Can't be no more James, man. There can only be one of everybody.
Right.
So I had to find me. Right.
Well, how'd you go about finding you?
Well, a lot of things took place. The main where I found myself was there was a tragedy. My wife's sister was brutally killed by her husband, and he killed himself. And both of these people were very good friends of mine. This was like in '77. But I really didn't talk about this until recently because I didn't want people to think that, you know, I'm bringing up a tragedy for personal gain. So I wouldn't, up until latter times, I've never talked about this. But anyway, when he killed her and killed himself, at that moment, I was like totally lost, man. It was like 1977. And things were just starting to click. And I had two sons of my own, so I ended up raising their kid, my wife and I, Chris. His name is Dale, and he ended up being a very productive young man, but he was going through some very, very difficult change. But anyway, at that time, man, I was like lost. I was like lost, man. I mean, music is lost to me. I have lost the desire somewhat to really put my all in music, man. Because I was like, crazy stuff like this can happen. And I couldn't make sense of it. So I started reading the Bible. And that's the only thing that gave me strength. I started reading the Bible, and every time I would become weak, I would read the Bible, and I would become stronger. This is how I ended up, through the 80s, being a strong father for my kids. I wasn't strong, I was weak. But when I read the Bible tells me to man up, bro. You come out there, man, you got kids. So although a lot of times I felt like this, breaking down in tears, man, but I didn't, because the Bible made me stronger. Right. So, but I was getting ready to, the dream of being a star at the end of around about the end of the 80s, I was about to put that aside and become an entrepreneur, businessman. My wife, Chris, is the one that told me to stick with what I know, because I was going to open up a fish place. And, when you come in, you get a sandwich or two, and you leave. And then I had like 3 apartments above this place. I was going to rent them out. And then I was going to do some music here and there, around the clubs and stuff every now and then. It was like a hobby. But she told me to stick with what I know, so I give all the credit to her in the Bible.
I want to ask you something, Lee, because you've long said as an artist, you write what you see.
I write what I see.
But then there obviously has to be a line that you don't cross personally. You talk about not really wanting to bring up that tragedy that you went through in 1977. So how do you determine as an artist, you want to be transparent and write what you see, but then there's also stuff you don't want to touch in the music. How do you determine what you put in the music?
Well, with me, like I was raised from old school, so we were taught, like when I was growing up, either you singing for the Lord or you singing for the devil. So I think all things are allowed, but all things are not good for us. And I don't think anything should be excluded from intellectual individuals. But I also think if we are speaking of subject matter that may sort of shape the impressionable young minds, then we should talk over their head. We should come up with words. Where we be laughing and they be saying, what they laughing at? And we could be saying the same stuff. And we laugh and have a good time, and the little kids are wondering what we're laughing at. And that will make them get books. I'm gonna see what that word means. So now we got them heading toward the books, becoming knowledgeable. And so that's how I write. I try to write to a point where I hope that I'm making a joyful noise to the Lord, and I'm hoping that now this is going to sound funny. I'm hoping that it will be pleased. I believe Jesus was the Son of God, but I don't think God is a man. God is a spirit. So that being said, that's the reason why when I refer to God, I refer to God as it. Right. And what were you saying?
I'm just thinking about your origins as we're talking here, and you fell in love with music through country, funny enough, right? Because soul music was pretty hard to find on the radio back in the day.
We had to listen to a lot of country and western, which I'm glad I did.
Because of the stories. You love the stories.
Yeah, I love the stories, yeah.
What was the first story? Because, I mean, I think telling a story in a book is one thing, and telling a story in a song is an entirely different art form. What's your favorite story you heard back in the day in a song that really just wrapped you up as a kid?
Well, they had this song I call "I'm Walking the Floor Over You." And I always, when I was a kid, I'm like 5 or 6 years old, and I'm walking, and the song will come on, the country western song, "I'm Walking the Floor Over You." I really thought somebody was like lying under the boards. And this cat, man, just, he done did something devious, you know what I'm saying? But that's what made me become fascinated with lyrics. And then when the Beatles came along, the Beatles, they was like they were from another planet, another world. Yeah. Because the way they dress, and their ideas, their approach to music. Because I wanted to be a businessman. Because like in North Carolina back in the day, the only people of color didn't have that much. And when I was growing up, and the only people of color that had something, either they was highly educated or they were business people. So I really want to be a businessman because I want to have something, man. We was on people farms, and we had to move, and cause mother wanted and daddy wanted us to have a better life than just going and farming for people, which is a good thing. Farmers are who feed the world. But if the money was shared like it's supposed to be shared, you start out at the beginning of the year with nothing, and the ending of the year with nothing. Now you got to start the next year with nothing. That wasn't too cool, man. That wasn't too cool at all. But I admire farmers because they're the one that keep us fed. Right. But that being said, that's how my musical influences. And then I used to see this picture of this guy on everybody's wall. This guy, and they call him Jesus. I'm like 6 years old. I wonder, who is this man? Everywhere I went, I saw him up there looking up at the sky and with his hand. So that influenced me. Big influence. That influenced me, and it was always about religion and God and people. Yeah. And I'm still that way.
Yeah.
I still believe that God is real.
Yeah.
Well, regardless of what your religion is, if your religion tells you to love your neighbor as yourself and love your God with all your heart and spirit and soul, seems like to me, regardless of what the religion is all right.
Yeah.
Because it's all about love.
Yeah.
Neighborly. Because if we loved our neighbors and everybody would get along, we wouldn't be fighting.
Yeah.
We'd be fixing the world, fixing the seas. The sea is a terrible thing now. All of these creatures are dying out there.
Yeah.
And then the atmosphere. Man, look. It could be. They saying there's the job situation. Look. The entrepreneurs of the day that's making all these billions and billions of dollars why don't they invest in the future? You know, let's get the ball rolling of cleaning up the planet. I'm quite sure, man, there'll be so many jobs, so many things to do. And the next thing you know, man, the world will be people be saying, hey, I believe this world could last indefinitely.
Right.
You know, because I really think we on us. The earth is the living quarters. Sun is the heater. The rest of the planets is like a gyro system. Information was embedded at the beginning, so that we'll meet. We'll meet God. We'll meet God at one, at a particular time. It's all about time, lasting that long. Yeah. And that's what my music is all about. It's all, man, I'm really, really, man. Sometimes I think, Lee, you thinking a little bit too much. You need to slow down, son. but that's the way I am. I can't help it.
No, I appreciate it. You put it in the music. There's a lot of thought behind this album. Let's
Yeah.
get to some fan questions right now. The first is going to come from right behind me.
Hi, Mr. Lee. How
you
are
doing?
you? I'm honored to speak to you today. One, because I'm a Fields.
Oh, yeah.
Two, because my grandfather's name was Lee Fields, and he passed away.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm really
That's
honored
amazing.
to speak to you. Also, I grew up listening to Let's Talk About It, but my favorite album is Faithful Man, and my favorite song is, I call it How Long, but I know that it's called Wish You Were Here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know, what was the inspiration behind that song? Was it personal experience or?
Well, that song, Nicole Ray, and I didn't really write that song. I heard the song, and I was just totally touched by it. That's one of the few songs that I didn't write. Nicole Ray, I think Vincent John has something to do with that. And but when I sing that song, I think about my dad, my mom. I think about all of the people that I know that one day I will see. I will see again, but they're no longer here. And sometimes it's very difficult to sing that song. Because, especially since Charles Bradley and Sharon Jones died, I get a little touched up. So I haven't done that song in a while, because the last couple of times I tried to sing it, and I need to be up here performing. I don't need to be up here crying for you. You know what I'm saying? And it breaks me up. It really do. It really touches me. I'm glad you asked that question. It really touches me.
Thank you.
Great question. We have time for one final question. It'll come from over here.
Hi, Lee.
Hi.
I really enjoy your music,
Thank you.
but I'm interested in who you listen to. Is there anybody even nowadays that you enjoy listening to?
I listen to just about everybody. I listen to, sometimes I'm in a country and western mood. I listen to some Willie Nelson. I listen to some of the young, they got this, what's this guy named that sing the song about this horse with he got Billy Ray Cyrus.
Old Town Road.
I listen to Annie, what's her name? Grande. I listen to her. I listen to some old Motown. I listen to some Bach, Beethoven. I listen to, just depending on what mood I'm in. I listen to a lot of Chick Corea. I listen to jazz. I listen to funk. I listen to just about everything. If the music is good, just depend on. I like, I was very saddened. No, I ain't gonna talk about that. But anyway, I listen to everything.
Can I ask you about Old Town Road? The Horses in the Back song?
Yeah.
As a guy that grew up on country music, it was a big to-do that Billboard took that song off the country chart, said it wasn't a country song. When you hear that song, though, what do you think of it?
I think it's a country song. I think it's a merger of different ideas. And I think when people start removing songs, if the public is gravitating to that song, you should play what your audience like. If the audience like that song, and it's not doesn't have any negatives or any political negative ideas. I think people should listen to the truth. That song, to me, is a true country and western song with a little added components. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
I was surprised you didn't mention Travis Scott as somebody you listen to,
I do listen to Travis Scott.
because he famously sampled "All I Need from You"
Yeah, he did.
for Antidote back in
Yeah.
2015.
And I really, I'm thinking personally, I'm working with him in Dover, Delaware at the Raceway down there, and I'm going to personally, if I see him, you know, some artists, I don't know whether he's like that, but some artists, once they become like huge stars, it's very difficult to get to. But I'm hoping that he'll be more like, now I work with Ed Sheeran over in Australia. Most down-to-earth guy you would ever want to meet, man. He got 80,000 people in the audience. And he coming back to my dressing room asking me were things okay. I said, do you know when people get on that level, other people can't talk to them most of the time because they're surrounded by so many individuals. But he was the most down-to-earth person I ever met. And I'm hoping that Travis Scott be the same way.
Right. What do you and Ed Sheeran talk about? Do you remember?
No, we just took a picture together, and I was so excited, man. I was trying to, he said, listen, I got it. So, man, you know, I was trying to, I forgot where the button was, man. But we talked briefly, you know, I was telling them, I said, you know, pound for pound, out of all the artists, and I'm including the Beatles, I'm including Michael, I'm including Prince, all the rest of them, James, pound for pound, I got to give it up to you because James had big band. Michael had, to draw these kind of people, Michael had a big orchestra, 30-piece orchestra, fireworks, choirs. The Beatles had 6 or 7 pieces on the stage. But the reason why I'm giving up to you for pound is the artists of the artists is because you putting the same amount of people in a Coliseum. You got 80,000 people here tonight, and you coming out, you ain't got nobody on stage but you. That's amazing, man. Yeah. And he did a whole show. Nobody but him with his little gadgets. 80,000 folks. I never seen nothing like that before. Everybody that I know that would be able to maintain. I'm not saying that he's greater than these artists. I'm saying pound for pound, drawing power. You drew, with you standing on the stage and a guitar. And, you know, change, because I'm going to tell you something. I still can't figure out how he pulled it off. I still can't figure out how he pulled it off.
It's amazing.
So pound for pound, I think all of the artists are equally talented.
Right.
But as far as drawing power, never seen nobody draw 80,000 folks with one guy.
Yeah. No, he's incredible.
Yeah.
They're telling me we're out of time, unfortunately, but thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much
stopping
for
by
having
today. Really a pleasure to meet you, man.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.